Okay, this is going to go over the 8.2 practice. A couple of things you want to know on this, especially if you didn't attend class the other day, is watch the video first going over the unit circle. But on the unit circle, you want to know a couple of different facts. First, the cosine of the angle in the unit circle is always x. The sine is always the y coordinate. The square root of 3 divided by 2 is approximately 0.866. The square root of 2 divided by 2 is approximately 0.707. Make sure your mode in Desmos is either set to degree or radians when you're working out the appropriate problem. And we'll get more into this. So let's go over number 1. On the unit circle, the measure of the angle is 5 pi over 3. What is the coordinate? So let's go over this one. First, 5 pi over 3 is a radians. So we're going to make sure that our mode, by clicking on this wrench here, is set into radians. And then we're going to do two things. For the x, we're going to do cosine of 5 pi over 3. And then we're going to do sine of 5 pi over 3. And the cosine will get you the x value, and the sine will get you the y, but make sure your the mode is in radian to work all these out. So let's do that. So we're in radian. We do cosine, parentheses, 5 pi over 3. And that is going to give you 0.5. And then sine of 5 pi over 3. That's negative 0.866. All right, I have some pen issues here. So 0.5 and negative 0.866. Now the 0.5 is easy. All right, that's 1/2. But the negative 0.866, well, we know it's negative, and it's going to be one of these two, right? So if you don't memorize it, you can type that in the calculator. So if you do negative SQRT of 3, hit the right arrow, divided by 2, you can see that's going to give you the same thing. Negative square root of 3 over 2, negative 0.866. So it is 1/2 negative square root of 3 over 2. That is your coordinate on the unit circle. We'll pretty much go through all of these until we get to number 11, like this. All right, so for this one here, we're in degree, right? 225 degrees. Make sure your mode is set to degree. And we're going to do the cosine of 225. That's your x. And then we're going to do sine of 225. So first, on Desmos, hit the wrench. Make sure it's in degree. Cosine of 225. And sine of 225. And you'll notice these are both the exact same thing, right? It's negative 0.707, comma negative 0.707. So it's going to be negative something. And, using a little common sense here, we just got off of this one being square root of 3 over 2. So if you look at your options here, it's not going to be square root of 3 over 2. So let's try negative square root of 2 over 2. And if you're not 100% convinced that that's right, type in negative SQRT2, right arrow, divided by 2. And you can see that's going to be your answer there. So negative square root of 2 over 2. And there you go. All right, number 4. All right, back to radians. So cosine of 3 pi over 2, sine of 3 pi over 2. Make sure your mode is set to radians. And let's do this. Oh, that's 0. I like that one. Sine of 3 pi over 2. That's -1. So that's pretty simple. 0, -1. All right, number 5. Back to degrees. 250 degrees. So set your mode to degrees. And let's do cosine of 250. Oops. 150. No wonder that didn't work out. So do cosine of 150 and sine of 150. All right, so sine is 1/2. And cosine is -0.866. And that's going to be negative square root of 3/2, positive 1/2. I mean, this is just kind of plugging in numbers and making sure they're right. Okay, pi over 6, back to radians. Cosine of pi over 6, comma, sine of pi over 6. And there's your square root of 3/2. And there's your 1/2. So it's going to be 0.866, 0.5, square root of 3/2, 1/2. All right, number 7. Degrees, so cosine of 135 and sine of 135. What? There we go. Make sure in degrees. All right, negative 0.707 and positive 0.707. And 0.707 is the square root of 2, right here divided by 2. So negative square root of 2/2, positive square root of 2/2. And number 8, 11 pi over 6. Cosine 11 pi over 6. Sine 11 pi over 6. Radians. You might be noticing that every time there's a 0.866, there's a 1/2, right? So that's by design. That's going to be the same thing. 0.866 will always accompany a 0.5 or negative 0.5 or whatever. So we know this is the square root of 3/2, and then this is the negative 1/2. Sometimes the 1/2's first, sometimes it's last, but they always go together. So positive square root of 3/2 and negative 1/2. All right, 210. You see I'm doing all this without looking at the unit circle. Not really necessary. So 210. All right, so cosine of 210, sine of 210. Negative 0.866 and negative 0.5. So negative square root of 3 over 2 and negative 1/2. Number 10, pi. Oh my gosh, pi. Hey, unit circle on this one here. Hold on a second. Now you know, if you actually look at the unit circle at pi, 180 degrees, negative 1, 0. All right, so we're looking at negative 1, 0. Remember, you can always refer back to this. So anytime they give you a degree or radian, you can find that coordinate on here, okay? But you won't have that on the exam, so that's why I'm going over the calculator way with you. So anyway, let's go over that. So there's a pi. What number are we on? All right, so pi, we're going to have our calculator set to radians. And remember cosine of pi, negative 1, and sine of pi, 0. There you go. That backs it up, negative 1, 0. Hmm, 315, cosine of 315, sine of 315. And notice that I'm not in degrees. There we go. All right, so we have positive 0.707 and a negative 0.707. So the square root of 2, SQR2 over 2 is 0.707. And the negative square root of 2 over 2 is negative 0.707. And that takes care of all those. Let's go over the last few. All right, pictured below is a unit circle with the terminal side of the angle t at the coordinate pictured. What is the sine of t? All right, well, the sine is the y value. So the y value is going to be 1/2. So the sine of the angle is 1/2. So the sine of t, t is your angle here, right? So sine of t is equal to 1/2. That means the cosine of t cosine is your x value. So cosine of t is the square root of 3 over 2. It's that simple. They're right there. 1/2 the square root of 3 over 2. Okay, next one. Point A is on the unit circle as shown below at angle theta. So I don't know the angle, but I know, and this isn't on your unit circle. This isn't on one of the given angles. This is just a random coordinate. So what do? Well, again, cosine is the x value and sine is the y value. So if you look at just the x value and the y value, you're really just giving me those numbers, right? Cosine is going to be the negative 8 over 17, and the sine is going to be 15 over 17. You're just pulling those out of the coordinate. Okay, same thing here. Point B is on the unit circle shown below. What is the sine and what is the cosine? Well, it's a little bit flipped, right? Sine is the y value. Cosine is the x value. So the sine is negative 24 over 25, and the cosine is negative 7 over 25. Don't be switching any signs. Those are what they are. And number 15, point on the unit circle shown below. Picture name not maybe drawn to scale. It says cosine of the angle is square root of 3 over 2. What's the angle measure? Well, think about what quadrant we're in, right? We're in quadrant 1. Here, I'll write over here, quadrant 1. Everything's positive. Cosine of the angle equals the square root of 3 over 2. So what angle would that be? Right, so here, remember, look at the unit circle. Think of your options here, right? Cosine is the x value. So in this quadrant, where is x, right? Right there, right? So your angle is right there. So the cosine of 30 degrees is the square root of 3 over 2 in that quadrant, right? It's not drawn to scale, but that is what your answer is going to be. So cosine of 30 is the square root of 3 over 2. And you can verify that on the calculator if you need to. This is in degree. So cosine of 30 is the square root of 3 over 2. So let's put that in the calculator just for good measure. And make sure you're in degree mode, which we are. It's 0.866 SQRT 3 divided by 2. So if you didn't know, if you didn't have your unit circle, you could just kind of guess, all right, let's try 30, let's try 45, let's try 60. Try one of those angles, knowing that x is your cosine. So that degree is going to be 30. And a last one. This one's very similar to the last one, but it's sine. All right, so it says sine, this is going to be a y value, of what angle? Sine of what angle is equal to the square root of 3 over 2. Same quadrant, quadrant 1. Well, it's not going to be 30, right? So let's try 45 or 60. So sine of 30, that's 0.5. That's not going to work. 45, that's square root of 2 over 2. So let's try 60. There you go. Sine of 60 is 0.866. So sine of 60 equals 0.866. Sine of 60, remember 0.866 is the square root of 3 over 2. So your angle is 60 degrees. 60 degrees. There you have it, guys. There is your work for this this section here. Hopefully I got all the points, and we did. So we are good to go. Appreciate you.